Did you know that metal music didn't actually start with Black Sabbath? When you clicked on this video, you're probably wondering if there really were heavy metal bands in the 1960s before the genre officially existed, or maybe you're skeptical about whether these obscure bands are actually worth your time. The truth is, while the world was getting lost in flower power and psychedelia, a handful of rebellious bands were already forging the heavy, distorted sound that would eventually birth metal as we know it. These 10 forgotten pioneers were crafting crushing riffs and dark atmospheres years before anyone even used the term heavy metal. And today I'm going to prove that the roots of our beloved genre run much deeper than you think. Band 1, The Monks. Let's start our journey in 1965 with perhaps the most ahead of their time band you've never heard of. The Monks weren't just playing heavy music. They were creating an entirely new sonic assault that wouldn't be matched for decades. These 5 American GIs stationed in Germany traded their military uniforms for monk robes and nooses around their necks, crafting a sound so abrasive and revolutionary that it makes early punk look tame. Their album Black Monk Time features pummeling rhythms, heavily distorted guitars, and an aggressive minimalism that predicted both metal and punk simultaneously. The opening track, Monk Time, hits you like a sledgehammer with its relentless beat, and Gary Berger's sneering vocals declaring, "We don't like the army." What army? This wasn't just rebellion, it was sonic warfare. The band used amplifier feedback as a weapon, turning their equipment's limitations into their greatest strength, creating a wall of sound that was both primitive and absolutely devastating. Band 2, Blue Cheer. Speaking of devastating walls of sound, Blue Cheer took the concept of loud and redefined it entirely. Formed in San Francisco in 1967, this power trio didn't just play music. They launched sonic attacks that left audiences shell-shocked and critics scrambling for new vocabulary. Their debut album, Vincebus Eruptum, is often cited as one of the first true heavy metal records, and for good reason. When Blue Cheer covered Eddie Cochran's Summertime Blues, they didn't just reimagine it, they completely obliterated it and rebuilt it as something unrecognizably heavy. Dickie Peterson's thunderous bass lines, combined with Lee Stevens' feedback-drenched guitar work and Paul Whaley's caveman drumming, created a sound so overwhelmingly powerful that it influenced everyone from Black Sabbath to the Stooges. They were playing at volumes that literally caused physical pain, pioneering the louder is better philosophy that would become metal's calling card. Band 3, Iron Butterfly. But volume alone doesn't make great metal. Atmosphere and dynamics do, and nobody understood this better than Iron Butterfly. While their hit Inagata da Vida might be their most famous track, it's their deeper cuts that reveal their true metal credentials. This San Diego quartet mastered the art of building tension through repetitive, hypnotic riffs that would drone on for minutes before exploding into chaos. Doug Ingles' Hammond organ work added a gothic, cathedral-like atmosphere that perfectly complemented the band's heavy guitar sound. Their approach to songwriting, taking simple riffs and stretching them into epic trance-inducing journeys, would become a blueprint for doom metal decades later. Songs like Possession and Unconscious Power showcase a band that understood heaviness wasn't just about volume or speed, but about creating an overwhelming sense of dread and power that could consume the listener entirely. Band 4, Vanilla Fudge from California, dreaming to New York, scheming. Vanilla Fudge took a completely different approach to creating heavy music that was no less revolutionary. Rather than writing original material, they took well-known pop songs and transformed them into slow, psychedelic epics that stretched familiar melodies into unrecognizable territory. Their version of You Keep Me Hanging On turned the Supremes' upbeat hit into a 7-minute journey through musical purgatory. Mark Stein's cathedral-sized organ tones, combined with Tim Bogart's rumbling bass lines, created a foundation so heavy it seemed to bend gravity itself. Carmine Appis's drumming wasn't just rhythm, it was architectural, building massive sonic structures that supported the band's reimagined classics. Band 5, MC5. Detroit has always been a city that breeds rebels.
In a world they could do, I said the
But MC5 took rebellion to its absolute extreme. Standing for Motor City 5, this band didn't just play heavy music. They weaponized it as a tool of political revolution. Their live album Kick Out the Jams, recorded at Detroit's Grand Ballroom in 1968, captures a band that sounds like they're literally trying to tear down the establishment with pure volume and aggression. Rob Tyner's vocals weren't just sung, they were battle cries that demanded immediate action. The dual guitar attack of Wayne Kramer and Fred Smith created a wall of distortion that was both musical and militant, while the rhythm section of Michael Davis and Dennis Thompson provided a foundation that felt like it could support a revolution. Band 6, the Stooges. But if MC5 declared war, the Stooges actually fought it. While technically forming in the late 60s, Iggy Pop and his band of musical misfits were creating a sound so primitive and powerful that it made their Detroit contemporaries look sophisticated. Their self-titled debut album, produced by John Cale of the Velvet Underground, captured a band that sounded like they were channeling some primal force that civilization had tried to suppress. Ron Ashton's guitar work was less about technical proficiency and more about pure emotional impact. His riffs were simple, repetitive, and absolutely crushing, blueprint patterns that would influence metal guitarists for generations. Songs like I Wanna Be Your Dog and No Fun stripped rock music down to its absolute essence, revealing the raw power that had been hidden beneath layers of musical sophistication. Band 7, Sir Lord Baltimore. Moving into the turn of the decade,
You got me so pumped up. No feeling alright. You got me so pumped up.
Sir Lord Baltimore proved that the East Coast could create heavy music just as crushing as anything coming out of Detroit or California. This Brooklyn-based quartet released Kingdom Come in 1970, an album that many consider to be one of the first true heavy metal records, though their sound was clearly developing throughout the late 60s. Louis Domber's guitar work was absolutely ferocious, employing techniques and tones that wouldn't become standard until years later. Gary Justin's vocals alternated between Robert Plant-style wails and demonic growls that predicted death metal by decades. The band's approach to songwriting was uniquely dark for its time, dealing with themes of fantasy, warfare, and apocalypse that would become metal staples. Band 8, Atomic Rooster Crossing the Atlantic.
People are looking, but they don't know what to do.
Britain's Atomic Rooster brought a uniquely European sensibility to heavy music that was both sophisticated and absolutely brutal. Led by Vincent Crane's organ and Klaus Vormann's bass, this band created a sound that was part heavy rock, part classical composition, and entirely devastating. Their self-titled debut album showcased a band that understood heaviness could be both intellectual and visceral. Carl Palmer's drumming, yes, the same Carl Palmer who would later join Emerson, Lake, and Palmer, provided a foundation that was both technically impressive and powerfully driving. Crane's organ work drew from classical influences, creating arrangements that were as complex as they were heavy. Band 9, Cactus, proving that heavy music was truly becoming a global phenomenon. Cactus combined American blues traditions with British heavy rock sensibilities to create something entirely unique. Formed by former Vanilla Fudge members Tim Bogert and Carmine Appice, along with guitarists Jim McCarty and Rusty Day, this band took blues-based heavy rock to its absolute extreme. Bogert's bass playing was particularly revolutionary, treating the instrument not just as rhythm support, but as a lead voice capable of carrying entire songs. His techniques would influence metal bassists for generations, proving that the low end could be just as important as flashy guitar work. McCarty's guitar style drew heavily from blues traditions, but pushed them through amplifiers turned to 11, creating a sound that was both familiar and completely alien. Band 10, Budgie. Finally, we arrive at Wales's Budgie, a band whose influence on heavy metal is so significant that it's criminal they're not household names. Formed in Cardiff in 1967, this power trio created a template for heavy metal that countless bands would follow, from Rush to Metallica to Soundgarden. Burke Shelley's bass playing and vocals created a unique sound that was both melodic and incredibly heavy, while Tony Borge's guitar work defined what metal riffs should sound like. Their approach to songwriting was uniquely dynamic, alternating between quiet, introspective passages and explosive, crushing sections that would become known as quiet, loud dynamics in later metal. Songs like Bread Fan and Napoleon Bonaparte's 1 and 2 showcased a band that understood metal wasn't just about being heavy all the time, it was about using heaviness strategically to create maximum impact. These 10 bands didn't just play music, they created the genetic code for everything that would follow in heavy music. From the Monks' abrasive minimalism to Budgie's dynamic songwriting, from Blue Cheer's overwhelming volume to the Stooges' primitive power, these forgotten pioneers laid the groundwork for every metal album you've ever loved. They proved that heavy music isn't just about following formulas, it's about breaking them, rebuilding them, and creating something that speaks to the darkest, most powerful parts of the human experience. If this journey through metal's hidden history has opened your ears to something new, don't let it end here. Subscribe to this channel and hit that notification bell, because we're just getting started exploring the deep cuts and forgotten gems that shape the music we love.